the 49ers got multiple important updates today, just a few days before their Monday Night Football matchup with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, these updates are going to directly impact how they play Monday against the Colts, and as well as having serious implications for their final two NFC matchups that now have even crazier implications for the NFC playoff seeding. We're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because we noticed over 97% of you haven't subscribed yet. It's free to subscribe. You want to subscribe so you don't miss any Niners updates because we're going to give you everything we got, including roster updates today that you'll want to know about before Monday Night Football versus the Indianapolis Colts. But I want to start with what I mentioned in the intro about how the Niners' final two NFC matchups have even more implications now with the NFC playoffs. And that's because at the time of this recording, the Seattle Seahawks have just beaten the LA Rams for first place in not just the NFC West, but the number one seed in the NFC playoffs as a whole. It was a crazy game. The Seahawks come out on top in overtime. But now that means that the Niners, if they win out their final three games, including a Week 18 matchup versus the Seahawks, they will take control of not just the NFC West, but the number one seed in the NFC, which is going to be crazy if it happens, but the opportunity is there. It starts, however, with Indianapolis this coming Monday, and we got major roster updates with injury news that will be important for Monday's matchup. I want to start with the second message about who did come back to practice today. Linebacker Tatum Bethune, he's back limited. Defensive end Sam Okuwanu is back limited. Linebacker Eric Kendricks was a full go. Defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos is back, and cornerback Renardo Green are all back in limited fashion. Now, all of those, despite limited practice performance, is still a huge deal. And I want to start with Tatum Bethune because I think Tatum Bethune has been a diamond in terms of players that have been stepping up. Obviously, we've seen how he has played in Fred Warner's absence. No Fred Warner injury updates right now today, but there might be something coming soon, I think. But for Bethune, his presence has clearly been missed. He was injured in the Cardinals game about a month ago, and he hasn't seen the field since. And you've noticed with the Niners defense that their run game defense hasn't been that great, especially most recently against the Tennessee Titans. And I talked about that, how I think that is where we as Niners fans see the biggest issue with the injuries on defense. It's in that run game defense. So with Bethune coming back, that's a huge update, I think, to the defense, specifically run game defense. Pairing him back up with D. Winters is going to be great. And if you look at the depth chart, you see how important Bethune coming back is. Renardo Green, obviously limited practice. He should be coming back soon. But I want to go to the defensive line too. Sam Okuwanu, as I mentioned, is back at practice. Yetur Gross-Matos, who was on IR, his practice window was open last week, and he is practicing again this week. So those are two major updates because I mentioned previously, the Niners defensive line arguably had the two biggest injuries in terms of impact, aside from Fred Warner, on this entire team. Nick Bosa is out and Michael Williams is out. So it's definitely been a next man up mentality with the Niners defensive line, and you've seen it with a lack of consistent quarterback pressure and not the greatest run game defense. But having Okuwanu and Yetur Gross-Matos back are two very important pieces because if you look here, this is every Niners player this season that has registered a sack for the team. Now, you got to note that two of these players, Bosa and Williams, are out for the season. And Upton Stout, who registered one sack, is a cornerback, so you're not going to get pressure from him very often. But if you look, Okuwanu, despite only having 2 sacks for the team as a whole, that's a pretty big deal. He's clearly been a solid impact player on that defensive line, so to get him back and healthy is going to be huge. Combining him with Bryce Huff and Cleveland Farrell, who have been real good standouts on that defensive line, those are going to be huge. And of course, if you look, you will notice that Yetur Gross-Matos is not on that list. He's been dealing with injuries all season. I don't think that should be an indicator. His lack of stats should be an indicator of him playing bad. It's just, unfortunately, he's been overall unavailable because of injury. That doesn't mean he can't make an impact in the final stretch of this regular season and the playoffs. It's looking promising. He's missed time with IR, of course, but with him coming back, his practice window being open, his return is inevitable, and he might be able to come back Monday against the Colts, and you will see his impact if he's there. I will tell you that. But I want to go back to this message because there's players that did not practice today. I want to start with the big one, which is Ricky Pearsall, who suffered knee and ankle injuries. It looks like re-aggravated injuries from earlier in the season. He re-aggravated them against the Titans. He did not practice. Guard Spencer Burford did not practice. Defensive tackle Jordan Elliott didn't practice. But Shanahan leaves a note that Pearsall is still a possibility for the Colts game. And then, of course, at the bottom, you see linebacker Nick Martin. He missed last game because he was in concussion protocol. He is still in concussion protocol, so he's not available. I wouldn't bank on Nick Martin being available because, of course, the Niners want to take concussion protocol very seriously. So unless he's able to clear it, probably by tomorrow, unless he doesn't. If he doesn't, he will not be playing on Monday. So don't count on Nick Martin being available for this game. But Pearsall's an interesting one because obviously he was dealing with injuries throughout the game, and yet he still racked up nearly 100 receiving yards. So if Pearsall's good to go for the Colts game, that's going to be huge because the Colts defense is not the best in terms of pass defense. And I'll show you this right here. This is the worst defenses from top to bottom in terms of most passing yards given up. And the Colts give up the second most amount of passing yards per game for their defense. And the Niners obviously aren't too far behind. They're a little more middle of the pack. They give up about 20 yards less than the Colts, but they're still up there. But the Colts passing defense will give opportunities to Ricky Pearsall or honestly whatever receiver is going to be out there. Jawan Jennings had 2 touchdown catches last week against the Titans. He's going to get opportunities. It looks like it's going to be another good opportunity for Brock Purdy to play great football. And if Ricky Pearsall's out there, that's going to be an even better opportunity because here are the passing statistics for the offenses in the league. And the Niners, of course, take it with a grain of salt. A lot of these statistics are because Mac Jones was playing football as well under center for the Niners. But the Niners have the 4th best passing offense in terms of total passing yards per game. And Brock Purdy put up nearly 300 yards versus the Tennessee Titans. So it's not just a Mac Jones thing. These stats aren't inflated because of Mac Jones's play earlier in the year. Purdy is getting hot at the right time. He's peaking at the right time, and the Niners offense is also seeming to peak at the right time. They're getting more players back, and it looks like the defense is finally catching up as well with available healthy players. So my final thoughts are this. The Niners offense is looking to have a great opportunity this Monday versus the Colts. If Ricky Pearsall can play, it's going to be an even greater opportunity. But the Niners, as they are right now, hope is coming. Even more hope is coming. The Seahawks took care of business. They now have the number 1 seed, which sets up the Niners for a chance at the number 1 seed in the playoffs. I always go back to where the Niners were after losing to the Rams at home last month. They fell to 6-4. There were questions if the Niners were even going to make the playoffs this year. And now here they are with their own destiny. They can control their own destiny. I'm at a loss for words because I can't even believe it, to be honest. You win the final 3 games, including against the Seahawks, you get the number 1 seed. The NFC playoffs go through Levi Stadium, which sets you up for a really good opportunity to play the Super Bowl at Levi Stadium. But in order to do that, you got to start this Monday against the Colts. And with a lot of these players, important players coming back from injury, your chances get better and better. But we'll keep you updated, of course, on injury availability from these players, who's playing and who's not, as well as what the Niners should expect more so for the Colts game and games go beyond that. But for now, that's all for this episode of Niners Digest. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and we will see you in the next video.